Dazzle, the higgledy-piggledy rooftops of Montluçon. This has taken us 19 days to find this lovely town. It'll be 103 miles for the peloton as they head towards us from Roanne. And there's still no clear indication as to who will win this Tour de France, which is about to enter its final weekend. The peloton, as they make their way right now through the town of Vichy here. There's still a long way to ride today, 101 kilometers to go. There is a small breakaway on, but it's virtually caught. It's hovered out front for quite a long time. The four leaders are Igor Martinez, Alejandro Balán, Stefan Schumacher again, and Pierrick Fedrigo. Those are the four leaders, but Paul, they've gone absolutely nowhere. They've been out front since the 10th kilometre, and they're going nowhere.
Well, they're pretty much locked in. They got themselves up to about 1 minute and 10 seconds. But if you look at the front end of the main field, I think this is, as we said earlier, Phil, one of the days when a lot of teams feel is their last chance of winning a stage here at the Tour de France. Looking just down here at the weather conditions, it really has been a very tough day. In fact, at the moment, it's 75 degrees Celsius out on the road. But, Phil, there's a reflected heat on the road at a couple of places out on the course of 102 degrees Fahrenheit. And, in fact, the tar is starting to melt. And there are one or two places they're actually spraying the roads with water.
Well, that's interesting. It is very sultry out there. And funny enough, driving to the start this morning, the finish rather this morning, there was a little bit of rain. Ever so slight, but it could happen, and the riders certainly won't want that now. They don't want any more hazards coming their way until tomorrow, when the biggest hazard will be the individual time trial for sure. Well, these four riders, Igor Martinez, remember, he was in the escape and got beaten by Simon Gerrans at the top of Prato Nervoso in Italy before we had our second rest day. He came off the podium in tears. He thought he'd done a deal with Simon Gerrans to keep Gerrans in the lead and not attack him. Gerrans apparently promised he wouldn't sprint. Well, we don't know whether Gerrans actually said that. We're only taking Igor's word on that one.
A lot of people tipped this man to win the stage this afternoon. Alice say he's looked for the breakaway. He got himself into the breakaway, Phil, but unfortunately I have a feeling they're very rapidly going to get caught and pull back into the fold.
Well, the l'Allier River here, which runs as a tributary off the longest river in France, the Loire. More beauty on the way. We'll take our first break. 2 days to go to Paris. Is the catch of the four leaders here. They have been in the lead for 86 kilometers, and they have just, on leaving Vichy and Charmey, been put back in their place.
Well, as soon as the junction was made, a rule in the handbook says go for the counter move straight over the top, and that's exactly what Pipo Pozzato did. But Stefan Schumacher, Phil, was not having any of that at all, and he nailed him back very quickly into the main field.
Well, I reckon that was the tactic, all right. They've chased that. They never let that breakaway go, but it was really hard work. It was over 50 miles of chase to bridge a 45-second gap, more or less there. They've done it now, though. And they're hampered a little bit by a fairly strong head to crosswind, and that'll stay the way all day today as they dodge the gendarme in the middle of the road. But as expected, Paul, as so often happens, once the break is back, they all go a-hunting again.
Well, you see, the strange thing about the sport of professional cycling is once you've got a breakaway off the front end of the field, it tends to calm down the spirits of the riders in the main field. Now, all of a sudden, that they pull back that leading group of four riders, everybody believes once again there's chance to break the elastic. And this is Sylvain Chavanel, chased by Jaroslav Popovic.
Yes, trying to just break the elastic again. I saw Martin Mascant of the Garmin Chipotle team on the back. He's had a tough tour. He's only a young lad. It might be a bit much for him this year, but he's getting himself to Paris. He was fourth in his first big classic attempt in Paris-Roubaix, and we didn't hear much of him after that until he came to the start line here. Interesting to see this move by Popovic.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why, unless he's been given the freedom, because it's one of the last chances he's got to win a stage here this afternoon. It could well be that the team has said, well, we don't need to look after Cadel Evans this afternoon. He can sit in the main field because Team CSC are going to do all of the pacemaking. So let's see if we can get ourselves a stage victory. Now, that is rather impressive.
Yeah,
normally it would
amazing.
be a maypole, but it's the wheels of a bicycle.
Well, this has been done by the local people of the town of Saint-Remy-en-Rollat. They have a lovely church in there, by the way, which dates back to the early 19th century. But that is yet another example of the brilliance of these people here in France when they do all of this artistry. They come up with something different every year. I think there is a broken spoke in that front wheel, though, Paul.
Well, this looks like a little move again coming from Agri-Toubel. Chase taken up there immediately, as you can see, by Team Rabobank on the front end of the main field. Agri-Toubel have had a fair amount of success out of the Tour de France this year, although I think probably a little saddened yesterday, Phil, by the third place finish by their man Romain Felu.
Oh, and just remind me to tell you about poor Damiano Cunego. We saw him race in yesterday, and he really did race all the way to the line to avoid being eliminated. Well, he went to the doctors after he finished, and the doctors advised him to pull out. So he hasn't started today, but he also has left this race with his head held high, because he rode the whole stage injured yesterday and made sure he wasn't eliminated.
Well, just to finish off the story on Damiano Cunego, by the way, Phil, he actually had a number of stitches placed into his chin last night by the race doctor. The main field is going very fast, but I don't think fast enough.
Well, it's going to be a nail-biting finish. We've seen them caught. Remember the finish down in, I can't remember the stage town at the moment, but they caught right on the line at the French champion, Nicolas Vaugondy, and had the race been 2 seconds shorter, he would have won that day, but they caught him. And so now we're going to have to look to whether this can happen here today. Are these guys going to stay away? That was the second stage, I think, over in Brittany, so it must have been up in Plumelach or Saint-Brieuc. 2:42, 5.6 kilometers to go. Now there's the upside down world of Fabian Cancellara, who cancelled out his superstitions by wearing 13 upside. Gets victory for the first Tour de France stage. I mean, it's not theirs yet, but we're still waiting for the peloton to get under 5 kilometers to go, and these boys are about to see 4. Surely that's enough, despite the chase now being enacted. And the thing is, we are, as Paul says, in the streets of Montluçon now. This is a big crossing of the city. I don't think it's a city, it's a large town, a very large town, before we get out to where the finishing line is on the other side. So it's still 4 kilometers to go, and the peloton have not hit 5 yet. So this is going to be a very, very difficult finish now. One of these is going to dream of victory. As we look at the clock, 3.8 kilometers for the leaders. The peloton, Paul, and here they come, are probably just about to see 5 kilometers to go. They are going to have to really lift the ante now.
A little bit late for Crédit Agricole moving up on the right-hand side there. They've still got to sprint, because after all, Phil, this is categorized as a flat stage. There's 35 points for the first rider to cross the finish line, and there are points for the first 25 riders to finish. So even though we're going to be sprinting in the main field, Phil, for third place, Oscar Ferreira, Eric Zabel and Thor Hushovd still have to sprint it out. They still have to try and get themselves lots of points, even all the way up to Paris. The two leaders, Phil, at 5 kilometers to go for the main field, are going to survive.
They've got to. At 2:18, I think the gap was officially under that banner. It's already down to 2:17, but they've got a lead of almost 2 kilometers. It has worked, and what a tremendous ride it has been due to at last 2 riders to get away from the field and hold them off. 2 French riders at that, but neither has won a stage, and it looks as though Chavanel is going to have to try and drag Roy to the finish. But one of them, and only one, can win the day.
That's a tough thing. We talked about it yesterday, Phil, a 2-man breakaway, and you never know how the sprint is going to go. Logistically and statistically, the strongest man should be Sylvain Chavanel. He's won 6 races so far this season, and all of them in dominant style. But when it's a 2-man breakaway, if you make a mistake in the last 150 meters, you blow the chance of a lifetime. And Sylvain Chavanel, he's been so close before. You remember when he was away with Chris Horner, the American rider, and they got caught inside the last 200 meters. Ouch, I tell you what, this little railway bridge here, Phil, is looking like a mountain for these 2 men.
Yes, as we climb over this bridge, we'll start to get a little bit easier towards the finish. We've just skirted round the sides of the Cher River here, which is another one of these marvellous rivers of France. These 2 riders must feel quite lonely out there just now. Suddenly the crowd have gone, but they're waiting down in the dip there as they align themselves up towards the 2-kilometer banner. And now they know they're going to win. What will their tactics be?
Well, Chavanel, I think, will keep going until the last possible moment. Then I think once he gets to around about 500 meters to go, he will probably force Jeremy Roy to come to the front. I would think the Frenchman in the red shorts there would like to start the sprint out of the slipstream of the younger Frenchman. The younger man with him is a little bit more inexperienced. Chavanel has won races in Belgium, he's won races in Italy, He knows how to win from a situation like this, but he will not want to make a mistake.
Well, he's been on the attack since the Tour began. Remember, he was an early leader in the King of the Mountains on this race as well. He's not afraid of terrain. He's just looking for glory. Here comes the charge here. It looks as though the big workhorses of Team Columbia and Quick-Step have gone too fast for the sprinters right now. A state of panic back there, but a chance to grab third place at 3 kilometres to go.
This is the winner of yesterday's stage off the front end of the main field, Marcus Burkhardt, but he's looking for 2 minutes on these two riders. Now they're slowing down a fraction. You can see the man at the front, Sylvain Chavanel, is thinking, what am I going to do? Shall I force this young man to the front? I need to really. I want him to start the sprint so I can come out of his slipstream, just as you would in a massive, great Formula One race.
He's looking very casual here, Chavanel. It's almost as if he's inviting Jeremy Roy to just make the move. It slips away slightly to the right here. There's the bridge where we go into the no people zone. And again, that field has come back together again. A good chance, perhaps. This isn't Gert Stegmans, I don't think, who's trying to get off the front as we get to 1 kilometre to go. They got away after the other group of four had tried for 80 kilometres, never to get out of sight of the field. These two had to go at 85 kilometres from the finish, and they will decide the day.
Chavanel getting it into the right gear. He's got it now into the gear that he wants to start the sprinter, but he's going to start the sprint from first position. Looking over his shoulder, it's almost a repeat of yesterday when two riders are trying to duke it out. This is the cat and mouse tactics. Chavanel is the more powerful rider, but you never know. If you get caught out by a quick jump and a quick surprise, it could be everything for Jeremy Roy. But I feel that Chavanel today, Phil, he's got the strength to take this victory. He's looking confident, waiting to see if there's any move. He's making it a long, slow sprint, but once he kicks, I think he's got the advantage.
Well, I'm not so sure whether Jeremy Roy here, he's starting to grip those handlebars tighter. The pace is being lifted. He's being invited to make his move by Chavanel. Chavanel wants to see the move, and then he'll try the kick. Well, he's still playing with Jeremy Roy, but watch out, because that man has a little bit of a kick in those legs. Now he's going for it. He waited until the head came the other way of Chavanel. Look at the face of Jeremy Roy, but I'm not sure he's got the speed there. And Chavanel, the stronger of the two, he gets the first stage win in the Tour de France. Jeremy Roy gets his reward for being aggressive, but that was his 7th win of the season, and without doubt, his best of his career.
It's not important now, the time gap. The important thing for Sylvain Chavanel, Phil, was to get himself the victory there. He was in a slightly bigger gear. I was a little concerned when he started to wind it up in the fact that he may well have overestimated the size of the gear, but once he got that big gear rolling, nobody was going to challenge him. In the main field now, the organisation is Milram, and they're looking out for their man, Eric Zabel. Over on the right-hand side, there's a big train coming from Crédit Agricole, and that is Thor Hushovd. Hushovd wants to try and get himself a lot of points here this afternoon, because he wants to see if he can get himself a little bit closer to the green jersey of Oscar Freire.
And now the lead out for the rider in green, but Hushovd is not going to come through. As he looks over his shoulder, he comes up now, but where is Freire? Freire is calculating he doesn't need points. He's trying to get out of a mess here. Leonardo Duque has got out there. As he comes to the line now, Duque may come and finish this off, the man in red, but I don't know whether he can take on the God of Thunder. The Team Columbia riders and Cholik have gone to the right, and it looks like a final kick here. Columbia can't do much wrong in this race, as they're going to sweep up the board here, and Zabel again will have to play second. I think that's Gerald Cholik who takes the prize. He said if the things were right this morning, he'd have a go. It'll be third there this time, and had it all come together, I wonder if Freire would have made a serious move.
Well, Freire just consistent. Yellow jersey in the group, Phil, nice and safely in exactly the same time as everybody else. As we look at the victory move here by Sylvain Chavanel, there will be no change overall tonight. It'll be exactly the same as it was at the start of today, going into the individual time trial tomorrow.
Well, these boys diced it out again. Another case in 2 days where it's always sad when you finish second. The first Tour de France for Jeremy Roy, and the more experienced time trial champion of France. He's been a road race title holder as well. He gets the victory today. Applauds himself, well done, and he's earned that. It's taken him a few years to get it, and he's had a few years of being a most aggressive rider in the Tour de France, but now he's got France's 3rd stage win, almost setting a record in. This was the sprint here. Crédit Agricole had it organised. Freire in the lime green there. Little bit of argy-bargy on the left of the picture there, and a dodging by the rider in the light green, who didn't really get involved in this. Cholik just comes out ahead. Very strong finish. He was the lead out man, don't forget, for Mark Cavendish. If he comes right on Sunday in Paris, he might even get the stage win. There's the situation behind here. Yes, I can imagine the emotion.
Well, he's tried, Phil, on 8 occasions he's been to the Tour de France. He's had a little bit of glory with the lead in the King of the Mountains classification. He has tried so many times to win a stage, and finally he's got it.
And Sylvain Chavanel now follows in the footsteps of Samuel Dumoulin and Cyril Dessel. And there he is on the podium now as the spoils of victory come out. His first ever Tour de France stage win.
Well, he's had glory in the Tour de France before when he's worn the King of the Mountains jersey on a couple of occasions, but I think, Phil, this is the crowning glory as far as he's concerned. 8 times he's participated in the Tour de France, and finally he's got himself up onto the top step of the podium, and for any bike rider that's an important moment in a career.
It is indeed, and he's going to relish this moment too, and he's worked very, very hard for it. He's never ever a question of him being given a stage. He's fought very hard for this stage win.
And I have to say, Phil, as he's changing teams during the winter season, this is almost a farewell gift to Team Cofidis.
Well, Sylvain Chavanel with the Honda ATV stage results gets in ahead of Jeremy Roy, a fellow Frenchman. Then comes Cholik of Team Columbia, Zabel of Milram, Heinrich Hausler of Gerolsteiner. Gap 1 minute 13 only on the peloton. Duque in 6th, his teammate. Pozzato riding well these last couple of days. He's leaving the team too at the end of the year. He got 7th. Hushovd only 8th. Not sprinting at all well these days, those last few days either. And Oscar Freire wasn't too bothered. He nibbled a few more green jersey points though in 11th there. And Ballana was in the break for miles today and got him absolutely nowhere. Finished there too in 15th. Sebastian Lang at 16th. And David Miller just getting in behind Jaroslav Popovic for the 20th place. Stage 20 of the Tour de France for 19 days and 3,330 kilometres, and we still don't know who is going to win this year's Tour de France. Will we know the answer tonight? We should here in the town of Saint-Amand-Montrond, because this is the final time. France. Carlos Sastre lines up for home. 1:7:29. It's not even going to be close, I'm sorry to say, for Cadel Evans, because he can amble up the home straight now, because tomorrow he rides to Paris in yellow, and by tradition they won't attack him. In fact, they haven't got enough time even near him to attack him. So Carlos Sastre comes home, his time in the time trial best ever. He thanks everybody, he waves to the crowd. He knows now he's won the Tour de France, and he's won it by around a minute.
Well, that was an unbelievable performance. I want to see him get off his bike right now, Phil, because nobody can believe the performance of this young man. He pulled himself inside out. He looked at the time of Cadel Evans. Evans was never very much more than 25 seconds ahead of this man. He has ridden the time trial of his life. He never, ever in his career has been able to rival Cadel Evans in the individual time trial, and I think Evans today had a very bad day. He just could not take the pressure. Let's not forget, Cadel Evans finished in the top 10 in the individual time trial, but I think to win the Tour de France today, Evans needed to win this time trial.
Well, it's the congratulations time now. The pain is over for Carlos Sastre. I don't think there was anybody except the Spanish and, of course, Team CSC gave him a hope of winning this race in the time trial against Cadel Evans. But on the day, he proved to be the stronger of the two, and he really was riding like a man possessed. He has won the Tour de France for sure now. Tomorrow, though, he has to ride the full distance, and he has to make sure he gets to the Champs-Élysées and keep himself out of trouble. Cadel Evans tonight will, though, be sitting in 2nd place in the Tour de France, and the sensational Bernard Cole will be there in the Tour de France. That's a velodrome down there as we go inside now to see Stefan Schumacher. Salutes the crowd again. 2 wins. Both time trials are his, and he hasn't waited for the time trials. We saw so much of him in the mountains as well.
No, he was a phenomenal performer. He was not scared at all of going out on the attack on a number of occasions, and he did say that he was surprised at how strong he was coming into the final week of the Tour de France, and that proved it today, Phil, because he was a strong man in the individual time trial.
Well, it's a shame that Gerolsteiner leave the sponsorship of cycling this year. It's always been advertised, and it hasn't just happened or anything like that. It's just they've done enough for what is a bottled water company, but they have had an incredible Tour de France, and it leaves the question begging now, who will pick them all up? Let's have a look again, the Honda ATV results. Schumacher getting the victory over the world champion by 21 seconds, 61 seconds to Kim Kirk, and again a great time trial from him. Van der Velde lost 1 minute and 5 for 4th place, and the world champion, there were David Miller there in 5th place at 1:37. 2 Garmin Chipotle boys. Looking further down, we've got George Hincapie, who is always up there, bandaged up as he is from his crashes. He got across the line 10th. Disappointment there was Cadel Evans, only 7th at 2 minutes 5 seconds down.
Yes, that was a bad ride by Cadel Evans, and one that he will have to try and analyse later on in the season, because he never really looked comfortable. He never really got the gear going. The great ride, Phil, was done by 12th place finisher Carlos Sastre, 2:34 behind Schumacher, but more importantly,
29.
only 29 seconds behind Cadel Evans, and that was a great performance. Garmin Chipotle right up there in 13th and 14th with Heyerdahl and Danny Pate.
Danny, when he finished, led, of course, and he's finished the day in 14th position. Chris Froome there, this young man, Discovery from Kenya, finishes his heads for his first Tour de France with a high finish, and he finished 16th today. 84 hours and 1 minute, and Cadel Evans is still looking for 1 minute and 5 seconds. Bernard Cole, an incredible ride. He's going to finish this Tour 3rd. Denny Menchoff of Rabobank has come up into 4th. Christian van der Velde of Garmin Chipotle. Celebrations tomorrow in Paris, because he's going to finish this Tour de France.
Congratulations, your 2nd time trial win here at the Tour. You've been on the attack the last 3 days. Can you believe you still had so much strength to be able to take another win?
No, I felt this year was the first time I was really constantly in the 3rd week. So normally I had, after 10 days or 2 weeks, I was going down. It was my 4th 3-week race, and yeah, this year I wanted to have the 2nd stage win, and yeah, I was not the first on the line, but I could win this my 2nd time trial, so I'm really happy about this, and I was really confident because I felt that I had good legs also in the last days, and today the circuit was perfect for me.
A nice circuit out there. Were you getting time checks along the way, and did you realize that you had a really good chance to be able to win along the route?
Yeah, after the 2nd time, when I was 12 seconds back, I was not sure, but I had my rhythm, so I was sure that in the last climb it was not easy, and I knew that there you can make a lot of time, and there will be the decision of the race. And yeah, for me, I think I made everything perfect. I give 100%, and I had a good rhythm, and so yeah, in the final I didn't see this. You know, after such a long time trial, you look like this, and I didn't know anything after the line. So I asked which place, and then I heard first, and after Cancellara was on the road, I knew that I had a good chance to win.
Well, congratulations on the 2 wins and to making it to Paris.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely superb. We might be, Frankie may have interviewed the next world time trial champion. Who knows? After all, he's beaten Cancellara twice in this year's Tour de France. Anyway, as we continue to look at the man who should win the Tour de France, we'll see him on the podium. Carlos Sastre, he'll feel pretty safe now, Paul. He couldn't have felt safe last night.
Well, I'm sure he didn't feel safe going into the individual time trial. Looking at the statistics, as all of us have done over the last 48 hours since he got that yellow jersey on the slopes of the Alpe d'Huez. But now he must feel a little bit more confident, Phil, with the Champs-Élysées and Paris on the horizon.
But we have seen this year one of the most competitive Tours de France. Now they will get to see Paris. Notre Dame overlooks the Seine. The Arc de Triomphe will overlook the finishing line of this year's Tour de France, because of course we finish on the Champs-Élysées. At the beginning of this final stage here down in Étampes, and by tradition they bring the leaders of the competitions to the front. The yellow jersey now going to Paris on the shoulders of Carlos Sastre at 33 years of age. As the field, 145 of them, roll away. This is a flashback to about 10 minutes ago, that's all. They brought the 4 leaders to the front: Oscar Freire, the polka dot of Bernard Cole, the yellow of Sastre, and the white of Andy Schleck.
It really has been a phenomenal performance and a phenomenal battlefield for all of those men to get the jerseys. But the man who wears the yellow jersey could not have done it without the teammates here around him.
Absolutely, a team with 3 national champions on it, CSC. As we get back up the road, these are live pictures. The flag has just about been pulled in, 0 kilometre, and for the first time in 3 weeks, no one is sprinting out of the blocks. In fact, This looks like Carlos Sastre has gone up to Mr. Prudhomme, the race director, and said, "Are you sure it started?"
Well, just to put it into perspective, Phil, nearly always on the final day of the Champs-Élysées as the riders make their way to the very heart of Paris. The first hour of the race is somewhat of a procession. It's a little bit of fun for everybody to enjoy themselves, to chat amongst the other riders with them in this group, to say, well, we did it. We had good times, we had bad times, and now just a little bit of a truce, an unofficial truce before they get onto the Champs-Élysées, because once they get here, Phil, we always have a great battle.
Oh, absolutely. Has taken a flyer from the line. He seems to want the yellow jersey from day one, and that is an incredible win. The Golden Fleece, the Maillot Jaune for Alejandro Valverde, first leader of the Tour. Up on the outside, is that Hushoff, who's launched an attack? Yes, it is. It's the God of Thunder roaring, but the challenge is coming, and this is Cholik, who's on his wheel, but Tor Hushoff has taken it on the line. There goes the attack. Dumoulin's not living into the sprint, and Will Friscone is going after him. This is an awful long kilometre for these rides. Come on, William Friscone for Garmin Chipotle, but on the line, Dumoulin gets the win. Friscone gets second. This has been a great ride by Stefan Schumacher. It is going to annihilate the time of the world champion, and I think might lead the way to the best ever victory of his life. Well, this is a super finish by Miller. He's ridden his best time trial for many, many years here, Miller, and he's taken it to the line. Second best time. Stefan Schumacher has not only won the time trial, he's also become the leader of the Tour de France.
Vogondi here could very well have created a massive surprise.
Here comes the rush now, the final efforts here by Cholik as they try to wipe it out. These are desperate moments by the sprinters, and they've all just got to go for it now, as it looks like Freire is trying to get to the middle. Cavendish is there, and he's done it. And this is Christian van der Velde for Garmin Chipotle, who has launched an attack here. And there's a crash here. Schumacher's touched the wheel. The yellow jersey is in trouble. Well, this is a proud moment for Kim Kirken of Luxembourg. And this is going to really please, above all, his new American team, Columbia. Well, this is his third Tour de France. He's never looked like winning a stage before. He didn't even finish the last time he rode in 2006. But is this going to be his greatest moment? It's all over. Time doesn't matter to this man. It's the win he wanted. Look at Kim Kirken coming at him behind. The yellow jersey is going for the points for the green jersey as well. But let's give Luis Leon Sanchez his worth. That was a great win today. And on the line, Kirken and Schumacher side by side. Cavendish needs to break now as Stegmans gets the perfect lead out. Freire is looking hot. Robbie Hunter coming in the red. Stegmans goes now. Here comes Mark Cavendish. He swings to the left. He kicks. Mark Cavendish so quick over this last distance as Cavendish races towards the line. He gets it. That is unbelievable. He has got his second win of the Tour de France.
Evans here appears to be the rider from Silence Lotto, Phil, who has gone down.
Well, here it is. It's a bike change, in fact. Now, was it a bike change as a result of a fall? It most certainly was. Look at that. That is the hard way to start your attempt to win the Tour de France in the Pyrenees.
Well, you can see he's seriously ripped up there. His shorts are ripped on the left-hand side. His jersey is ripped on the back, and he's cut his arm open quite a fraction. Well, a lot of people have said the problem with Cadel Evans is he will not attack, but he's attacked here right now because he knows exactly what he's got to do. He's chasing Mikel Astroloza, and he's gone right across that gap. And the other guys, Phil, were just looking at him. If you want to win a Tour de France, you've got to ride with courage, you've got to ride with determination, and you have to make a move. This is the move, I think, that Cadel Evans has decided he needs to make.
Well, Cadel Evans here, an emotional moment. He becomes only the 5th Australian to pull on the Maillot Jaune. And it looks as though Kurt Adel Arvidsson is going to lead them out here. Martin Elmiger, Balan is a very fast sprinter. As he goes on the left of our picture, Mohrenhout never got his legs after he came up to the break. Arvidsson is going to hold this, or is he? He's got Elmiger coming through. The legs are going on Arvidsson. Well, it's close enough. I'll take the photograph. And now goes Cavendish, goes from the centre. This is a perfect lead out, and this is how he goes and beat that. He is the fastest man in the world right now, Mark Cavendish. There's nobody even comparing. Mark Cavendish becomes the first British cyclist to ever win 3 stages in a Tour de France. He's done it for the American team, Columbia.
There's a crash at the back.
Here. And this is one of the Gerolsteiner riders who's gone down. In fact, this is Sven Kraus. And this must be where it happened. Oh, and look at that bike go up in the middle. My goodness me, that was a prank. His bike's in two halves there, completely smashed, and he looks okay. Well, that'll go down as the most sensational crash we've seen on the Tour this year. Dodging and out of our sight because he's so small is Mark Cavendish, and he's boxed in Mark Cavendish. He's going to have to come with Oscar Freire from the centre of the pack. Watch him move to the left. Now he comes. He makes the space. Cavendish goes. The rocket has been launched. Mark Cavendish being challenged by Robbie McEwen. But this is the new Robbie McEwen, and no one can match Mark Cavendish. It's a long way to the line. Make it number 4. Team Columbia are setting the pace, but they haven't got Mark Cavendish in their slipstream, and Oscar Freire in green is a huge danger now. There's a rush from Jimmy Casper on the right of the picture here, a run here, and it's coming from Schumacher right on the line, and it's going to be a battle of the Germans, but Eric Zabel has got himself there again, and Freire is through on the line. The man in green takes.
There's a number of riders gone down here very dramatically around this corner. All it takes is a little bit of grease on the road and they go down. They've gone down on the left-hand side and on the right. There's all kinds of riders down on the ground, and I think Denny Menchov...
He's gone down. What did he hit there?
He just slipped on the road. Menchov was making his big move of the day, Phil, and he went down and his chain is off.
And that was simply the grease on the surface of the road. Frank Schleck is being set up by his brother at the front of the race to launch him perhaps for the finishing line. Remember, a second is a blink of the eyelid. That's all it is to steal the yellow jersey. Well, I guess it was always on the cards. Team CSC have ridden brilliantly, and now Cadel Evans will see his yellow jersey pass over to Frank Schleck.
John Lee Augustin, I think, who's gone off the edge of the road, and let's just have a look at this one more time. He's coming round that corner. He came into the corner much too fast, straight over the top of the climb.
Paul, he's gone off on the steepest part of the drop here. His bike has gone way down there. But being from on top of the world, winning the climb, he must have just lost his eye on that corner and has gone through. He looks okay, amazingly, but he's getting back.
Carlos Sastre knows, Phil, that if he wants to get his one chance at a shot at winning the Tour de France here this afternoon, he's got to get time. But he doesn't have to get seconds, he has to get minutes.
Meet the man who wins an Alpe d'Huez and becomes the 7th leader of the Tour de France. Carlos Sastre gets the win. Now they've gone for the line, mano a mano, side by side, but I think Marcus Burkhardt is going to be a little bit too quick here. The man who's helped Cavendish to all of his wins now gets one for himself. Now he's going for it. He waited until the head came the other way of Chavanel. Look at the face of Jeremy Ward, but I'm not sure he's got the speed there. And Chavanel, the stronger of the two, he gets the first stage win in the Tour de France. Cadel Evans, his Tour de France has been all about a yellow jersey. He's worn the yellow jersey, but today I think he is not going to win the Tour de France, but with a bit of luck he is going to finish second for a second year, and that itself is a tremendous thing for anybody to do.
Carlos Sastre this afternoon has ridden, Phil, the time trial of his life, of his career, and he's looking now at the end of this road at a yellow jersey.
So Carlos Sastre comes home, his time in the time trial best ever. He thanks everybody, he waves to the crowd. He knows now he's won the Tour de France, and he's won it by around a minute. Actually waves there to the commentary box, to his Dutch commentators. He gave them such an exciting moment when he won a stage of this race. All of Team CSC are coming home, and they are now, the last man, as always, is the man in the yellow jersey, Carlos Sastre. All 9 of the riders of only 3 teams bringing all 9 home. CSC, Saxo Bank is the big one.
Well, it certainly is. If you're a professional bike rider, you cannot look at this backdrop, Phil, and not get what the French call a char de poule, chicken skin, because it's so exciting getting yourself down to the Champs-Élysées. You've been through all kinds of purgatory. You've had the high life, the low life, the good times and the bad times, and now you're going to get every last little bit of energy out of your body on these 6-8 laps around here, I should say, of 6.5 kilometers. Still, Team CSC are being given the honour of doing almost a lap of honour, if you like, but very shortly there will be attacks. There will be riders who will feel they can break the stranglehold of the team that's been the #1 team in the Tour de France this year. Arvidsson comes to the front now to relay Stuart O'Grady. Jens Voigt, look at him, just sitting in the back. He's been so calm through this Tour de France. He's done the work that he's had to do on specific occasions for one reason only, and that's to win this Tour, and they've come away with it doing what they started.
Well, they're under the PMU banner, which is the sprint at the 2.5 laps, so they've got 2 full circuits, and then the ride up the Champs-Élysées. The next one will come after 5 circuits. Remember, they do 8 laps now. They don't go shooting off into the traffic there underneath and around the Arc de Triomphe. We turn at the top of the Champs-Élysées and start our journey back down the other side. The pace will pick up now. This is where we will see for sure the French riders will want to be noticed, and there's the first French rider launching the attack as we speak. It's going to be that sort of race now. They're going to have to control everybody, and not surprisingly, Nicolas Vaugondy, the champion of France, is starting the pursuit.
Well, it's very important now for everyone to show themselves off. If you've succeeded in getting round this 3-week bike race, you don't want to sit in the anonymity of the main field, Phil. You want to come to the front and show people, I am still in the Tour de France. I've still got the power to get off the front end of the main field, and that tends to just push the speed up a little bit higher all the time as everybody tries to get off the front. This is Stéphane Ogier of Cofidis trying to get himself off the front end of the main field, and it's big Jens Voigt has said, mate, you're coming back to me.
So Stéphane Ogier, who has been a great rider in the Tour de France, he's now getting towards the end of his career. He is now 34 years of age, but this year he has won a big race in Dunkirk. It's a 4-day race. It's actually a week-long race these days, but he was first. It's always referred to as the Dunkirk 4-day. He's now been joined by the champion of France, who's certain to fly the tricolour flag down the Champs-Élysées. Vaugondy now joins him. Others will try to strengthen the move here as they race away on their first lap of the Champs-Élysées.
Well, somebody's tried to get across the gap there. All of a sudden, Phil, there is no white flag or no truce, because everybody is scuttling across the gap here to sample the glory at the front end of a bike race here on the Champs-Élysées. It's a great backdrop and a great place to race if you can get off the front end of the main field.
Well, this looks like it might be Christian Knies who's gone across to him here, or Bjorn Schroeder of Team Milram, but they've started a flurry of activity now as they head down past the commentary boxes again and back out across the Place de la Concorde. It is now going to be action all the way. It looks like it is indeed Schroeder, who Trent Lowe has got across here.
Well, there's another move straight over the top.
Well, one after another now. They've lifted the pace to about 55 kilometres an hour. And you try to get a group that might work together, will have the legs now to lift the speed up and hold it here. Just look at the peloton scrabbling for wheels, as they know now there'll be no respite till this Tour de France ends. .5 kilometres still to race as we sweep around the Place de la Concorde, shortly to return right into the situation on the Champs-Élysées. We've nearly completed 1 lap here, and not surprisingly the French team Bouygues Telecom is now going out on the attack as well.
Well, everybody looking for a little bit of freedom, Phil, on this final stage, but look at the reaction behind. Everyone's all over the place. Surprisingly, though, Thomas Voeckler, the former French national champion, he's at the back end of the main field, as is Johan van Summeren, the rider in the red and black jersey there, and I wonder if Voeckler has some kind of a mechanical problem.
Well, I wouldn't imagine he'll stay at the back for long, because he is a man who likes to play to the French crowd. He'll come back to the front. See the yellow jersey, is holding his position at the front. He's not taking part in the attacks, but what he is making sure he's doing is staying out of trouble. Remember now, a fall or a flat tyre could end his victory in the Tour de France, and he's very much aware of that. For that reason, his team will never be far from him.
Well, that's an important point you raised there. I was listening to French radio last night, and they said, oh, well, it's all over and done with. Carlos Sacha has won the Tour de France. It's only a ceremonial parade on the Champs-Élysées. Well, let me tell that French commentator, Phil, that this is no ceremonial parade at 55 kilometres an hour. And yes, Carlos Sastre does have to finish this stage, and he does have to finish in the main field and in the same time as Cadel Evans to make sure that he wins.
Xavier Florencio from the Bouygues Telecom team trying to rip away from the front here on his own at the moment, or is he just trying to fly the flag for France here? Because Bouygues Telecom again have been a very active team in the...
Will have their day, as it seems to me that every man in this main field is looking for the breakaway.
Well, the Credit Agricole rider looking for some help there was Christophe Lemevelle. He's been in our cameras as well, a lot in the mountains, had a great tour. Simon Gerrans, his Australian teammate, won a stage of the race, the first day in the Alps, a great stage to choose to win, as he went across a gap and joined the four leaders on his own, and then he won at the top of at the top of the Italian finish town.
Prato
Nervoso. I couldn't think for the moment. Looking down at the peloton then as they continue now to try and control the peloton. The sprinters obviously want a sprint, but they're going to have to withstand an awful lot of attacks, as they always do here on the Champs-Élysées.
Well, it's under control once again of Team CSC. Stewie O'Grady from Adelaide, South Australia, said, I've had enough of all these guys trying to leap off the front end of the main field. Have a little bit of this pain from me, my mate. He's got to, behind him, he's got Jens Voigt ready to take over the pacemaking. Never too far away, Fabian Cancellara. This is a fabulous team, Phil. Team CSC Saxo Bank. They've dominated this race, they've dictated this race, and they've taken it by the horns whenever they've wanted to, and that's what they're doing once again here on the street of the Champs-Élysées.
This is the attack at 3.2 kilometers to go, and they've got to chase him down straight away.
Isn't this funny? Team Quickstep are the team chasing him down, and where is Team Quickstep? But this is, Phil, not about friendship. This is about trying to win a stage of the Tour de France. Quickstep have not won anything out of the Tour de France this year, and they will give everything to try and get Chavanel. He hasn't got much of an advantage, but if they break now, he will go away to get the victory. But look at all the sprinters queuing up behind. Everybody wants the glory on this final day.
Carlos Sastre just won the Tour de France. We are inside 3 kilometers to go. If he falls now or gets a flat tyre, he will be given the same time as all of those cyclists. He can't be beaten now as he races the last 2.5 kilometers for home. All that remains to find out is, can he hold off the peloton? They're working hard.
He's scrambling. This is at the back end of the main field. This is a problem here for Jens Voigt. He snapped his seat. His seat has disappeared, but it doesn't matter for Jens Voigt right now.
At least he'll also get the same time. Same rule applies across the board. So Jens Voigt is not all bad luck, but he can't take part in the finish. Here comes the drive up to Sylvain Chavanel, who finally this year got his stage win in the Tour de France, but it won't be today.
Right on the front now is Garmin Chipotle. 5th position is the black and white jersey of the Kiwi national champion, Julian Dean. David Miller is up there into 2nd place. Dean goes around there right on the shoulders of Oscar Freire, and in the other darker green shorts there, of course, big Thor Hushovd is looking for the win. And of course, Phil, let's not forget, he's won right here before.
Who are we going to see come out of the tunnel first as they race for the last time under that Ferris wheel? Garmin Chipotle it is. At one stage in the opening week for a while, they were the best team in this race. In the black there is Julian Dean. He's about 8 men down. He is going to try and finish this off for Garmin Chipotle, who are bringing all except one of their riders home. And this is Miller now.
Miller's got 1, 2, 3 riders. The 3rd quick-step rider is Gert Stegemann. He's better known as the lead-out man for Tom Bonen, but queuing up behind Phil there. Leonardo Team Cofidis. Stefan Schumacher's not far away there for Thor Hushovd as well in the green.
Well, they're into the last 800 metres. This is for big Gert Stegmans, the lead-out, the man who won in Ghent last year when he beat Tom Bonen and his teammates as they race across the Champs-Élysées to the Champs-Élysées for the final time. It's the right flick, but as we've told you all along, if you go too soon, you will not win at the Tour de France stage because it's a long way up to the line.
It's an awful long way. Still, Stegmans is in 2nd position. He's got Julian Dean moving up to wait. If you've got to kick now.
Look at this. Is this going to be the perfect end for Quickstep? It's the best chance for Stegmans, but look at Gerhard Cholik is coming, and on the outside is Oscar Freire at the green points. Cholik is closing so fast. Oh, and he's lost it on the line, but a great victory for Gert Stegmans. He has just redeemed the credibility of Quickstep, and let's watch for the man in the middle. Is he going to give us away? Because Carlos Sastre has won the Tour de France. He searches for Stuart O'Grady. Brady, because he owes an awful lot to that Australian.
As Carlos Sastre has got the victory. Let's have a look at that sprint victory one more time. We've said that this was a hard man sprint finish. He was led out admirably there, and Julian Dean right in his wheel. The big acceleration did come from Gerhard. The man who normally leads out, Tom Boonen, there has got the incredible gap.
Oh, yeah.
He's got time to look back over his shoulder there to say, right guys, you want to get the victory here this afternoon, sorry, you'll have to try again next year. Oscar Freire up there in third. Robbie McEwen, I think, was up there for fourth.
Well, I'll tell you what, he also has got to thank David Miller for a brilliant lead out down that back straight. But there is the family of Carlos Sastre. He's just telling his children, your dad just won the Tour de France. Well, this is how it all happened. The face of Gert Stegmans. This was a very important victory. His team has done absolutely nothing in this Tour de France. He's redeemed himself here, and a big sigh of relief.
And let's not forget, he leaves Team Quick-Step next year, Phil, to sign up for that very big new Russian squad, which is going to take over from Team Tinkoff. A great acceleration there coming from Cholik, but he could do nothing to outwit Gert Stegmans. You know, this is a special sprint here on the Champs-Élysées. You've got to get it to absolute perfection, but you've also got to have that big V8 turbo engine going and whistling, especially when you kick in the final few hundred meters.
There's the rider who won the Tour de France. He came so good in the mountains. He won at Alpe d'Huez. He's brought a memory to us that if you win at Alpe d'Huez and pull on the yellow jersey, history dictates you win the Tour de France in Paris. He's proved the point once again. As Carlos Sastre can enjoy himself tonight, so can this team, not just Gert Stegmans, because they've got himself a stage win. For Gert here, it is his 7th win of the year, and for sure, his stage result, Stegmans wins ahead of Gerhard Cholik. Oscar Freire getting third, even more points for that green jersey. He's run away with it in the end. McEwen still not sprinting as well as ever. He's only 4th. Robbie's won here twice. Tor Hushoff Paul, he's won here, drops back to 5th.
Yeah, but that was a great sprint on the run into the finish. I thought for a moment Julian Dean was going to get it, Phil, but he faded into 6th place. And Stefan Schumacher topping off a very good Tour de France for him in 7th, just ahead of his own teammate there, Robert Forster, in 8th. And rounding up the top 10, Robbie Hunter of South Africa, again ahead of the old man of the race, Eric Zabel, in 11th.
Well, that's the top 15 with Valverde. A bit further down, Geoffrey Lecatre, 16th, Stephen de Jong, 17th. And the top 20 there completed by Ruben Perez of the Euskaltel Euskadi team. Not been a great tour for the Euskaltel boys. They've had one man finishing up there in Samuel Sanchez.
How many times, Phil, have we seen this sight, the victory salute, and certainly this will be special for him.
Well, you can't get a nicer backdrop, can you? The Arc de Triomphe there. You look rather lonely out there, I think, but for Stegmans, of course, inside, he's going to feel the happiest man in the world. He's just saved the reputation of a team which has won many, many races, all of the classic races, and nothing in this tour. All of a sudden, he's produced the sprint. You ask the question why he hasn't won before, but this was a perfect lead out. And I think also they need to thank David Miller, because he started the lead out for the wrong team.
He certainly did, but you know, he wasn't concerned about who was on his wheel behind. He just knew he had to keep the main field in a big long line.
This year belongs to the Spaniard Freire, a commanding win, Bob.
Tor Hushoff second in that competition. Eric Zabel, the eternal one, in third. Duque and Kim Kirken having a great tour. He rounds out the top 5.
Valverde, Paul, in the mix as well with those couple stage wins.
Well, with a couple of stage win early on. Robbie Hunter consistent. Robbie McEwen, a quiet tour for Robbie McEwen this year in 8th place. Julian Dean up there in 9th. Watch out for the future, because in 10th, Gerhard Cholik is a man.
Yeah, I think he's absolute surprise, and how fitting he's a chimney sweeper in his normal profession before he became a bike rider, because the first guy to win the Tour de France in 1903, Maurice Guérin, he was a chimney sweep as well, except I suspect that Bernard Cole doesn't smoke like Maurice Guérin did. However, he pulls on the first ever polka dot jersey to be worn by an Austrian cyclist, and he can't believe his tour. He's told us so on Versus. He said he just cannot believe the way this tour has gone.
Well, as far as he was concerned, it was a childhood dream to win the King of the Mountains competition, and once he got himself into that position, he certainly consolidated throughout the Alpine stages. He was a great performer, but I think he scared everybody by the fact that he was extremely high up in the overall classification. And once again, one of the revelations of the Tour, because he rode a great individual time trial yesterday, but for him, he will wear that jersey with pride now.
But in the King of the Mountains competition, he was absolutely dominant. Sastre, he was second. Frank Schleck, Vogler, Sebastian Lang, that's your top 5. But Bernard Cole dominated that competition.
Cole had a plan, and we saw that aggressive riding, Paul, of Stefan Schumacher net him some points.
Well, Schumacher definitely was probably the second most aggressive bike rider in the Tour de France this year. John-Lee Augustin got his points with the highest road in Europe to finish in.
Throughout history, often men who have stood in this spot have gone on to win yellow.
Well, 50 years after Charlie Gaulle of Luxembourg won the Tour de France, we've hardly ever mentioned a rider from Luxembourg, and now look at this. Kim Kirkland the opening week getting green and yellow for a while, and now Andy Schleck winning the white jersey here. It's a tremendous fillip for the future, I think. When he rode his first Tour of Italy, he finished second in the white jersey. Now he's ridden his first Tour de France. He's taken a white jersey. He's a very modest guy. It's a super family. He'll come back, and whether he likes it or not, within 2 years, we'll be talking of him as a favourite to win the Tour.
I think everybody realizes this man is one of the stars of the future, and I think what is amazing is if you look at the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, there are 450,000 people actually live there, and 3 of their greatest cyclists were in the Tour de France this year. Let's not forget Frank Schleck, his brother, had the yellow jersey for a little while, but the brotherly love of these 2 riders, I think, was really obvious on the road this year, and obviously the brothers in arms of Team CSC was phenomenal.
Andy Schleck there, he's your winner of the white jersey, but not without a lot of heat coming from Roman Kreuziger. He challenged Schleck throughout that competition. Nibali from Liquigas had the jersey for it. Eduardo Gonzalez, you might want to write these names down for the future.
That's right. These are names to look forward to starting in 2009. John-Lee Augustin, remember that crash, that spectacular descent down the mountain. Luis Sanchez as well.
Sylvain Chavanel tried to win a stage of the Tour de France in 8 attempts. It was his 8th Tour de France this year, and finally he came up with the victory. And I have to say, if you want to toss coins to see who is the most aggressive rider, it's between Stefan Schumacher and Sylvain Chavanel. But even on the Champs-Élysées stage, the Frenchman went out, and the funny thing was he was chased down towards the end by the teammates of the men he's going to race with next year.
Oh no, good point, good point. Thank heavens. No, this is a proud moment for Carlos Sastre, but I think it's made more creditable by the fact that he did it in the time trial and not in the mountains. We never expected this man to produce that time trial, and least of all did Cadel Evans.
Well, the thing is, Phil, for many years you've always said about the magic of the yellow jersey, and once again the magic of the yellow jersey fell onto the shoulders of Carlos Sastre in that individual time trial. He's the only man, I think, and I'm sure Bob will agree with me, that leant out with his hand to grab the Tour de France this year. He wanted it. He grabbed it on the Alpe d'Huez, and because of that pride, he took it in the time trial.
I think you're absolutely right. A very modest man, a very humble man, but a very serious bike racer. And this is the fruition of many years of training and dedication and sacrifice. He marked the 13.8 kilometers of Alpe d'Huez as his moment to shine. He took full advantage of that. And like you said, he grabbed the Tour de France by the neck and throttled it into submission. And all he had to do was 53 kilometers in the individual time trial to solidify that. Cadel Evans maybe a little bit overspent by that last time trial just yesterday, and Carlos Sastre reserving 1 minute and 5 seconds of his advantage over Evans to get the final yellow jersey.
The thing is, if on Alpe d'Huez Carlos Sastre had won by 1 minute 45 instead of what he did 2 minutes 15, Cadel Evans would have won the Tour by a single.
So guys, the podium, to get back to it, would we have picked these 3, any of us? The national anthem of Spain.